Hello everyone, and welcome back to Misfits Racing League action. It is time, finally, for round number 19. It is the Circuit of the Americas. It is the United States Grand Prix. Joining me, as always, for the action from the land down under, Mikau. How you doing?
G'day, everybody. I'm doing great, Striffium, especially after that hectic Tier 2 race. My goodness. So hopefully Tier 1 is just as exciting and just as action-packed as that one. And also just want to say a quick happy Thanksgiving to all those who may be watching in the States while, having a nice family dinner
Right.
or lunch, depending if you're on the West Coast. So, yeah.
Depends on what time it is. Like 20 turns here around Austin, Texas, of course. 5.5 kilometers the circuit. And, well, it is a very unique circuit, isn't it, Mikhail? A lot of intricate sections, especially Sector 1. Almost an S's section. Then you go into Sector 2, which is fairly...
Well, the thing about the Coda is that it's a bit of everything. Like, you have the
Yeah.
Maggots and Beckett's clone of Sector 1 of turns, I'm trying to get this right, turns 3 through to 9, I guess. I don't know, there's a bit of elevation change towards the start of Sector 2. You have long straight, and then hard braking zones, and then you have a technical Mickey Mouse section, similar to Bahrain of a sorts, with the turn 15 mimicking turn 10 from that track. And then you have the long right-hander, in reference to Turkey, two apexes instead of four. But yeah, the long right-hander, which was also used at Russia, except in Russia it was going to the left, and then you just have two 90-degree corners to round out the laps. So a bit of everything here. Overtaking is certainly possible, but we'll just have to wait and see how these drivers fare around it. It can be very easy to get a lot of penalties very quickly, especially through Sector 1, and following another car, it can be quite challenging through that section of circuit as well.
Sure, yeah. Round 19 here in the U.S. Next week, we go to Mexico. Following that, Brazil for the penultimate round, and then we close things out in Abu Dhabi on the 17th of December, and then officially the following day for the club division on the 8th. Let's take a look at who's racing today. It is, well, it's a fast grid, a very fast grid. We have a few people sitting out this evening, as it is Thanksgiving. We have a few Americans and folks celebrating Thanksgiving on the grid today, so they may not be joining us. We have Brain Stew, Becky B over at Mercedes, Alex Bitto and Brownie for the Ferrari squad, Swifty and Microlander over at Red Bull, Yoda and Rackety for McLaren, Remco Van Putten and BTFU for Renault, Shenjay and Freeware over at AlphaTauri with Fubar and Sindako for Racing Point, Nigel Mikitis and Jean for Alfa Romeo. Haas has Astrade and Valu, with King and Ace bringing up the Williams team for the 20 full-time roster drivers in this one. Let's take a look at the standings. Shenjay off to a sizable lead at the moment over Yoda. 242 points to the AlphaTauri driver right now. The McLaren behind him, Yoda, 186 points for him. Alex Bitto, 140. There's quite the fight for those final few places in that championship standings right now, especially with those drivers. You have Van Putten, King Valley very tight together. You have Brain Stew, Brownie, Nigel Freeware all in that mixture. AlphaTauri currently leading this championship with Mercedes closely behind, and it is the Ferraris in third. Remco, Yama, and Swifty all receiving penalties post-race after the last one in Japan, but no order changes as a result of the penalties handed down throughout that race. Now, with all of this being said, Mikhail, I do believe we are ready to go racing here around Texas.
That is correct, Sheffield. The countdown rings 3, 2, 1, and we're just about to head into the lobby. And now the first roll of the dice. What is the weather going to be for this event? Because we've seen a lot of dry events throughout the week. At least I have as well. And yeah, so we'll see what's going to happen with the weather today. And it
Nervous
looks
about the
pretty
weather.
clear at the moment.
We haven't had any major rain through these races yet, or at least not that I have seen. I'm not entirely sure what the conditions were in Oceania today, as I had technical issues.
Well, that was completely dry as well.
But we've had a lot of dry running here around the United States. It is Texas, but as I am not from Texas, I have no idea what the weather like on a regular basis there.
Well, it looks like these drivers won't have anything to worry about for this one, at least in qualifying. Wait and hear what it's like in the race.
Take a look
But
at this
yeah,
grid. Valu, Richie, we have Sindako, Swifty, King. Damis is taking up a reserve spot over at Renault. He's filling in. Yama over in 7th position as well, filling in as a reserve today, I believe. Ferrari filling in for Brownie. Brackety in 8th. Fraser, 9th. Microlander as well. Freeware, Nigel, Jean, Ostrite, Shendry, Rutanius, Yoda, Alex Bitto, and Brain Stew on the grid today.
yeah. So 19 drivers, just missing out on the full 20, which is a bit unfortunate. But 19 is still a lot of cars going around this track, and I think Valu is the driver who wants that camera time. It's always a Haas.
It is
It
a
used to be
trend.
Henry. It's always it's not even like the Williams guys, and you'd think that they'd be the first out if they were really keen, but no, 2 Williams cars, third and fourth on this track at the moment. Ace Ritchie is the one leading those two. Yeah, Valor the first one out on the circuit, and as you can see from the timing tower, and on that lovely white, black, and red car, some red rims, soft compound tires to start us off. So these drivers not messing around. I do believe it is a fairly straightforward one stop from the softs to the mediums, but you do need to manage the tires a fair bit. So these quali laps can be quite important.
For sure.
But of course, they need to get their way up the grid as high as they can. Whoever sets the fastest time will start from the front. Whoever sets the slowest time will start from the back, and everyone else in the middle falls line astern. Based on that, if we have any viewers who are unfamiliar with sort of how qualifying works, and the top 10 will need to start on the same tires, the exact same set of tires they used to set their flying laps, I should say. As Valu will be starting the first lap of the session, so we're right on board with the Haas driver and 2-time race winner. Of course, winning last time out in Japan, and he's gotten off to a shaky start through turn 1, but through turn 2 now completely flat. Turn 3, 7th gear, 4th, 7th gear completely flat. Don't even try and lift for turn 5, then through the double apex, turn 6, then turn 7. So we come to the end of sector 1, turns 8 and 9, going uphill, very careful on the track limits on the exit. Don't want to ruin your lap right there. Use the AstroTurf heading down through turn 11. And then it's all about the exit down this long back straight. DRS open. And then coming up through the gears all the way to 8th gear. We'll see what the top speed is like. It's going through 320 now. It's going to make it to 330, not quite 328 is the speed that I saw. Down to 2nd gear for turn 12. A bit of a lock up on the front left, but it hasn't cost him too much. Now through 13 and 14 as we start sector 3. Double short shift up to 5th just to prevent that rear from sliding out. Another lock up into the very hard turn 15, and then we go through the triple turn apex, turn 16, 17, 18, the long right hander, turn 19, very hard corner to get right on your flying lap. The tires screaming at this point, and then into the final corner, 3rd gear, short up to 4th. Use the AstroTurf on the exit to get that power down as nice and early, and it'll be a 1 minute 29.385 to start us off. That is a very quick time. Microlander 2nd coming across the line with the 3rd now with a 1 minute 30.3, and Ace Ritchie will go right in the middle of those two.
Nigel, the Alfa Romeo, excuse me. Jumping into 4th position here. Freeware, sorry, he was 3rd. Freeware jumps in. Jeez, this
A lot of times.
Sindako, hello, P2 for him in the racing point.
Times coming in thick and fast through the session. Brainstew only good enough for P5 at the moment with a 1 minute 30.068. So this grid's quite tight, but you have Valu here who just absolutely stormed it out of the gate with that very, very fast banker time. And Bitto matches him almost to the millisecond, only 0.02 of a second behind. A very, very great banker time, but it isn't quite enough to snatch that provisional pole position.
That's tight. That's a real tight open to both of these racers. 2 millisecond separation between those two. Sindako better get on his horse over there at Racing Point.
Well, speaking of the other Racing Point, 1 minute 50 for Fraser on the intermediates. Interesting choice.
Must have been a difficult lap to complete.
I'd imagine so. I don't see any raindrops on the track. But yeah, I think the first runs are coming to a close. Yeah, so we'll see. These times are already insane. If you haven't seen any of these Tier 1 races before, in the chat if you're new with us, firstly, be sure to smash that follow button to know when we're going live. And be sure to join our Discord too if you are new. We have lots of great racing. But Tier 1 is certainly the tightest. It's close. We have like all the grids are very, very tight, but I'd have to say that Tier 1 is probably the tightest. Just look at these times. You have the top two who are just storming away with things, and then I think that everyone else sort of just make sure they get a valid time in. So from third all the way down to 11th is a second, and realistically, that's all but two of the time setters.
This is
Well, two of the drivers have set the times.
this is going to really, really ramp up Mikhail. So Tier 2 action, just to touch on the race we had just a few moments ago. The gap from first down to 15th was net less than 9/10. Tier 2. And I said to Unicorn at that moment, I said, I am going to be very scared from Tier 1 action because these guys are going to start coming through very fast. That first lap, as we know, is that banker. It's that first, hey, I'm going to get this lap in. I'm going to go out. Now it's time to push. And King in the Williams, no time on the board here. 10 minutes remaining in the qualifying session. He is going to be one of the first flyers at the present time, and he's in this Williams coming through, as you said, that Maggots and Beckett's-esque section of this circuit.
Oh, but he's cut the apex of turn 7. So that lap is not going to count, unfortunately, and that's something that we'll have to look out for in this race. There have been a lot of penalties in all of the races. Track limits are a very, very big issue here, and something that the drivers will definitely need to manage, especially if there's a late safety car like we saw in the EU a couple days ago. That completely shuffled up this grid and made almost the finishing order absolutely irrelevant. It was more on who kept it the cleanest throughout the duration of the race. So it's a marathon, not a sprint. These drivers have to remember that, but it's certainly a sprint in qualifying just to do that one perfect lap.
Now, one thing is, we were speaking about safety cars. We had a very late one in EU, and we had one on lap 21 earlier in Tier 2, and it didn't shake things up quite as much, but a ton of the drivers did have penalties, and it's going to be very crucial for these racers to keep things as clean as possible. Both Yoda and Shenjie are flying right now, both yet to set laps, both the top two drivers on this championship standings, and Shenjie with a sizable lead over the McLaren, the Albanian having a little bit of poor luck in the second half of the season in comparison to the AlphaTauri. Very much similar to season 2. However, he has been practicing, and I think he's going to be looking for a good result today. Those results previous, not necessarily as a result of his own driving, but perhaps the situations, and that's the thing that these races always present, Mikhail, is these unique scenarios that really, really bring out the best in these racers. Swifty now, who is on a flyer, he's just stepped in it, taking a little bit too much curb. He's invalidated that lap. Go back on with Yoda. He crosses 7th quickest now, 131. Nicely done.
We'll see what Shenjie is able to do. That fuel light on. Coming through the triple apex right-hander into the first faster left, turn 19. And then it's the final corner now. What's the time going to be for the American? It is going to be P3. A 1 minute 29.408. 200ths off the front two. So he's right there with them.
Yeah, things are getting quick.
But it isn't quite enough.
Things are ramping up.
That must be very scary for Yoda to see Chenjay that much further ahead on the timing tower.
These guys, you know, a single, even a slip of the steering, you know, a single snap is going to set these guys back positions should this qualifying carry through into the race. These guys are going to be deadlocked as another driver sets themselves up into things.
After that, P9. Very nicely done from him. And Valo improves by 2/10 strip.
Wow.
1 minute 29.119. Goodness me, that is a rapid time. We'll see if Bitter has an answer. But it won't be this lap, because that track map is as red as that Ferrari is, Striff.
Checking in with John now. He's coming through the final turn. The Alfa Romeo getting his first lap on the board here, Mick. DRS wide open throughout the final turn. It's P11. A second off P1 at the moment. Somebody else has jumped in behind him. That's going to be the Mercedes of, if I'm not mistaken, Rutanius into 8th.
Yeah, so some of the teams actually lining up next to one another. You have Freeware and Chenjay up there in P3 and P4. A very nice time from Freeware with a 29.402. You have the two Mercedes close together, separated by 2 milliseconds no less. And the two Alfa Romeos very close next to each other as well. So these cars are equal performance. I guess these guys are just around the same pace, or they just couldn't put the lap together when it counted. But I want to see if anyone has an answer to Value, because that is a very quick time.
King flying down the straight now. DRS wide open on the rear of the Williams, and keen to see where he lands in this very tight grid. And the thing is, King, we've known him to be quite rapid, so we'll see if he's able to jump somewhere into that mix of cars up in the top 10. And there goes Rain Stew jumping into 6th position in the Mercedes.
Yeah, very, very nice improvement from him. We'll see what S King's able to do on his first flying run, or his first complete flying run. Is it going to be enough to slingshot his way next to his teammate, or perhaps even further? What's the time going to be for the Williams? It's going to be P7. So 1 minute 29.797. So a little bit ahead of Sindaco and a 10th ahead of Microlander there in 8th and 9th, but he's still a couple, I think it's 2.5 tenths. Yeah, 2.5 tenths off of Rain Stew in front of him on this grid. The calm before the storm now. All these drivers just waiting for the track to rubber and just a little bit more, get the most out of the circuit. Have as much grip available as they can, especially through Sector 1. You will need it, and also through Sector 3 as well. So see a few cars coming out on the track. They still have a little bit of time left. The time for qualifying will be a little bit desynchronized, but it shouldn't affect us too much. These drivers will realistically have an extra minute than what you see on your screens. I think there's a Mercedes coming out. I think that's just Brains to make his way in the pits, yeah.
I'm looking at this grid. From 11th to 1st, you have that 999 from Master. Yoda 3 milliseconds behind him. Very, very unique. Of course, for those asking, 15th position, that is Mr. Zamis. He is reserving for BTFU. Of course, just a quick shout out, BTFU. Happy Thanksgiving to you, sir, and to all of the folks celebrating Thanksgiving in the United States, as Zamis is filling in for BT, and BT has subscribed for 9 months, Mikal, here on the Misfits Racing League channel. 9 months. Thank you so much for your support, BT.
Yes, thank you. As always, BT, hope to see you back again for Mexico next week. We'll see how Zamis does in your seat, and hopefully he doesn't piss in it. So, it's Richie now on his next flying lap. He's making his way down the back straight as we speak. DRS wider, but it seems to be a little bit of a scruffy lap so far, a little bit of a slide through turns 8 and 9. But we'll see how he is going through the sector 2-3 split. Hard on the brakes for turn 12, then on the power through turn 13. He's 200ths down on his time. Another snap through turn 14, so this lap is probably not the greatest for the Williams driver. But we'll see if he has time to make up in the third sector. Using all the curb that he can through turns 18 and 19. Almost invalidating that one, and he's going to call it. I think he's not going to improve on that one.
Now, Zamis is flying. He's coming through into the sector 2-3 split now. The Renault. He's currently got a 130.32A on the board. The founder of the Misfits coming through sector 3 now. This is the car he started racing in league action with, Mick. It was the Renault in the Discord Championship. He's taken that Renault seat back in the club division, and here we have him. He's filling in for BT.
We'll see what he's able to do. Takes a lot of the inside curb there at turn 19. Might have compromised his exit a little bit, but we'll see what the time's going to be. He's able to improve, but not into the front 10. He's P11 with the 1 minute 30.075, 100th off our Rutanius.
Wow. Things are tight. Very tight. If this back end of the grid is able to put things a little bit further up.
Oh, hello, Alex Bitter. He's getting a tow from Fraser down this back straight on his final flying lap. Not often you see tows given from drivers other than your teammate.
Well, Fraser's
course,
here
Alex
in a
Bitter
reserve
and
capacity.
Fraser. Yeah, they are two good mates, so not unheard of. But Valo, 2/10 ahead, or realistically closer to 3. I think Alex Bitter might need a little bit of extra top speed down that back straight. Is it going to be enough though? How is he going to fare? And he's cut it.
That's heavy.
At the penultimate corner. That's a big F in the chat if I've ever seen one. We'll see if anyone else is able to improve. The two Mercedes going through the S's. Brainstew's down on his time. Yeah, was off to the side of the road there at the start of Sector 2. As is Jean. Don't know who's going to be the first one to finish their final. I think everyone's sort of just starting theirs.
Nigel just crossed the start of lap as well, and he was one of the first drivers to jump into that top 5, really, and he hasn't been able to improve on that 130.252. Something to talk about is the fact that Valu has just begun a lap, or has he just finished? No, he's just finished. A 128.989, Mikal. A sub 129 here.
A sub 129 around Coda. That is a great achievement, as the checkered flag has now dropped. So all those drivers currently on flying laps are able to finish the lap that they are on. But that is it for qualifying. After that, so we see Brainster come across the line first to set himself into P5 at the 1 minute 29.512. Is anyone else able to get close to Valu? Sindako making his way. He's only good enough for P7 straight by 1 minute 29.582. A lot of drivers in the 29.5s. That's very, very close. Next up will be his teammate for this race, Fraser, but unfortunately Fraser has invalidated, so he will be starting at the back of this grid. Fortunately, he's able to get off those inters. Ooh, Freeware able to get himself into P2 with a 1 minute 29.213, but still not close enough to Valu. I don't think anyone's going to be able to beat that time. That is a blistering lap. Been fourth. Instead, he'll have to settle for P8. And ladies and gentlemen, that is qualifying for Tier 1. So Valu on pole position in that Haas car with a blistering lap time. That is absolutely insane. Valor on pole position with a 1 minute 28.989. I think the only sub 129 lap we've had here. Freeway will line up alongside him in P2. Alex Biddo on the second row with Chenjay, Freeway's teammate in the other AlphaTauri. He'll start fourth. Brainstew in fifth with a 1 minute 29.512. Ace Ritchie will line up next to him. Sindako in that racing point in P7. S King lining up next to him in 8th for the Williams squad. Mike Orlando in 9th, and Nigel will round off the top 10 on the grid, Stryfium.
It's a very, very fast grid here around Texas, and I am beyond stoked for this. I am very, very excited. And of course, thank you to everybody who's tuning in. My name is Stryfium here from the Great White North of Canada, and we've got Mikal all the way from Australia taking up commentary duty. And Tier 1 is always a monkey wrench in the race week. I mean, EU and Oceanic, Tier 2, they're races you can really kind of call. You can have a good idea of who is in the top 5, the top 10. Tier 1 is a completely different ballgame. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. Welcome in. Get that popcorn, get those beverages. We've got a formation lap just ahead of us. 10 seconds counting down until we get into that, and then it's go time here around the Circuit of the Americas, Mikal.
Yeah, 28 laps of pure hard racing, hopefully. And these guys, they are very fast and they are very tight as well. Valo making a statement in qualifying, being on pole by almost 3/10, but that doesn't matter now. He's gotten that pole position. He now needs to show that pace over the next 45 minutes to an hour, depending on safety cars and the like, to convert that pole position into a third win. And that'll make him tied with, I believe, Brownie and Chenjay for the most amount of wins for a single driver this season, which is crazy to think that the most amount of wins that any single driver has in the season is 3, and we're up to round number 19. Absolute insanity. He does, but you have to also consider that the tires always, these ones overheat. The softs really overheat around here, especially through Sector 1. So he will have to manage those, especially as the mediums become faster around lap 5, lap 6. And he'll need to stretch those until around lap 11 if he wants to make the one-stops and the mediums work. And that's what all of these soft runners have to deal with for this first stint. A lot of tire management, but also trying to make up some early ground when the whole grid is bunched up. Just waiting for Swifty now to make his way to the back of the grid, and then the lights sequence will begin. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, welcome to MRL Season 3 action. This is the Tier 1 race around the Circuit of the Americas. We have 3, 4, 5 red lights. I think we'll have the lights desync. Yes, we will. So we'll just wait for the cars to be off to the races. It's lights out and away we go here in Coda. Looks like a great start for Freeway. He's already going to jump Valo side by side. And it's Alex Biddo in that Ferrari. It's 3 wide for the guys behind. And there's a Mercedes spinning at turn 1. I think that's Rutanius. He's dropping down the order. So he's now down into 11th place, but Freeway will lead them into the S, followed by Valo, Biddo, Brainstew, Ace Richie, and then Shenjay the top 6 at the moment. Zemis making his way into 13th. Yama making up 2 places. Nigel falling down the order as well. Swifty J down into 17th place. But no major battles to speak of at the moment. Stripping everyone just holding line astern. Looks like Valo, he might be looking on freeway. No, he won't. Let's jump down to Brainstew. He's right on the rear of Alex Bitter. They make their way down at the back straight for the first time. Alex Yamamoto and Zamas going wheel to wheel down that straight. Both of them using all of that battery that they have saved up for this first opening lap. Yoda gonna try and make a look on Brutanius as well down into turn 12. He's unable to get that one done, but Zamas not quite able to. He's able to get past Nigel, and he's now looking around the outside of Nigel. Sorry.
Yeah, so we have Richie right now just stuck to the rear of Brainstew right now in this fight for 4th position. Shenjay right behind him, just half a second back. Sindako all the way down. Microlander is one of the tightest gaps on this grid right now, hunting down that Sofina rear wing. That's King in 8th position. Right behind him, it's Astrodite. Astrodite now is in a good position. He's on those medium compound tires. Right behind him, there's battling. He can escape. Yoda now on the mediums just the same. He's dispatched the Mercedes. Rutanius dropping into 12th. He's going to look back, though, around the outside into turn 1. Does he have a switch through on the inside? Does he have the traction? No. Yoda holding on to 11th. Then it's Yama, not too far behind, who's going to be counting on this battle to bring himself closer.
Yeah, these gaps are absolutely insane at the moment. Only a 10th in it between S-King and Microlander. But you can't really pass in this S section strip him. It's just too hard and too risky, and especially at such an early stage in the race. But Microlander, he's got the run through turns 9 and 10 down the inside into turn 11. Later on the brakes, a little bit of a lockup on the front left to boot as well. But S-King, he has the better exit out of the hairpin. We'll see who has the less downforce, who has the less wing setup. It looks like Microlander using that overtake actually to try and pass that Williams, and Microlander will take that 8th place heading into turn 12.
Yeah, great battle between those two right now. Swifty and John are having an exchange, although it's at the back of this grid. It's very early in this race. They're both on the medium compound tires. Nobody has had to come in for a pit stop yet in this race. I don't even think anyone has damage in this race just yet, Mikal, and things are really heating up. There is no gaps on this grid over 1 second. The only one is Yoda, and he has a massive train of cars behind him. Yama right now looking very closely at Rutanius for 12th position. This is the tightest gap on grid as we make our way through out of the final turn on circuit, that 20th turn. Now Rutanius has the Ferrari in his rearview mirrors. Are we going to see the move? He's squeezing. He's squeezing. We make our way into turn 1. There's a lunge from the Ferrari. A big lockup. Does he get it back on the switch through the inside? He has great traction through. Bido now takes a 3-second time penalty. You hate to see it, but that's the price for using the circuit. Rutanius has to run completely off board here, and Nigel is going to smell the blood, and he moves on through. There's the Rutanius Mercedes defending against this Alfa Romeo through this Sector 1S's section, this Maggots and Beckett's-esque section, as you said.
Zamis is here too. Zamis is going to be 3 wide for these guys heading into turn 11. We'll see who's going to have the traction on the exit. Zamis is not really able to get the grip out of those mediums just yet, and he will fall back behind these two. But Rutanius already using a lot of that battery, and Nigel, you can see the speed from the Alfa Romeo just completely breezes by the Mercedes.
Richie and Shenjay as well up in the middle of the field, 5th and 6th. They are exchanging through Sector 3, Mick. We can't forget about these guys at the front. They are in the big points, but these guys at the back are just putting this circuit on fire. The overtakes right now. We saw Zamis drop back. Now Rutanius has made a move on Nigel. Nigel's had an issue. Zamis is sneaking through. This is absolute madness in the rear of this grid. There is nothing in it for these guys. These guys are just going for it. Zamis, he dropped back on these mediums. He wanted to let these soft runners fight, but he has so much pace in this runner right now. He's going to push through. Fraser has dropped into 19th. He's had a big issue. He's in the gravel, Mick.
Yeah, Fraser finding the gravel trap there. I think just a bit of contact or just a bit of a slide through the penultimate corner was all that car needed to just be sent straight into that gravel trap. So he's now down into 19th with the, well, 18th now as Rutanius comes into the pits. but he's got a lot of work to do in that racing point if he wants to salvage anything from this race. We are now on lap 4 of 28, ladies and gentlemen. Freeware still leading this race ahead of Valo and Alex Bitto, the top 3 podium slitters, all within that DRS range. Rainsu just falling a little bit behind, just 2.1 seconds now is the gap between him and Bitto. But all these guys within 1 second will have that rear wing opening down these 2 long straights on the circuit. And here we go. We might see a change of hands here for the lead of this race. Valo now on the inside of Freeware heading into turn 12. He'll have that inside line. He'll defend that off. He's able to get a bit... He has a bit of a slide at the exit, but he's able to get through for the lead of this race. So great stuff from him. Let's see if Freeware has an answer for him very, very soon. All these guys behind Brainstu as well, very, very close together in a train all the way down into, I believe that is 9th place. Yoda, the one breaking that one at the moment. You can see these clumps of cars forming that is so accustomed in this tier 1 grid. And yeah, it should be great to see these guys try and battle it out. Ace Richie now, he'll have that DRS on Brainstu, but he's not utilizing that overtake just yet to try and make a move. What about at the front? Freeware, he's not able to make the move on Valo just yet. He's already starting to fall back a little bit. 4 tenths is now the gap. He'll lose a little bit through this section because of that dirty air from the car in front. Not having the downforce, not the front wing and rear wings not working quite as intended by the in-game engineers and mechanics. But he'll have to worry about Bitto, but Bitto already has a 3-second time penalty, and as you can see at the bottom half of this timing tower, all this battling, all this side-by-side action is certainly going to cost these drivers in the long run. That's a lot of drivers in the back 12 with penalties. I think Nigel and John, the 2 Alfa Romeos, the only 2 not to have penalties in that back 12.
Rackety.
For Freeware.
All right, we're going to jump on with Rackety. Nigel right now, they're battling. Richie, Brainstew down the long straight as well are exchanging. Richie into 4th. Oh, man, Nigel and Rackety are continuing to do the dance here. There they go, down the straight now. Nigel leading the McLaren. Very tight stuff.
There goes Swifty. There goes Swifty, trying to look around the outside of turn 12 on Jean in that battle for 16th place at the moment. But still 1 place more gives you those bragging rights. These top 3 are still staying with each other. They're all probably just managing their tires, trying to make sure that they can stretch these softs. But Freeware is slowly but surely falling back off Valor. We have the first of the drivers into the pits by choice. I think that's S-King. He's coming to the pits fairly early, so I don't know if he's going to go on a set of hards at the end. No, it's a set of medium compound tires.
Very
and
early.
A wing change, probably.
Yeah, very early. He wanted to get that wing change. Must have needed to get that done. Zendako right now. Microlander, so much pace through this first section of the circuit in comparison to that Italian in the racing point right now, because he just caught up so much to the rear of that racing point. I thought he might have even gone into the rear of him there for a moment, but now he's coming down into this hairpin, and this has been such a train, and there's been a lot of late lunges. We'll see if we get one out of Microlander here. He is going to have the DRS, as all of the cars in formation here are. Going to be about conserving battery. It's tough, yeah, because you get a good exit. It's about the exits from these corners to really get the momentum to make these moves, of course. And Coda, it's a tough circuit to, you don't want to take too many risks either. It's a long race. Tire wear can be, well, hard to deal with during long stints, and we're getting to a point now where these softs could really start to betray these drivers. Yoda, Astrodate are going to be looking to be the biggest benefactors out of that.
Yeah, it certainly is around this point that the softs start to lose a little bit of their grip. So we'll be seeing the medium runners come into their own at this stage of the race. But yeah, still just not enough movement. Like you're saying, Strippy, you need to get that good exit out of the, out of turns 11 and 20 to really have a shot of going for a move down the DRS straight. But it doesn't really do much when everyone gets a good exit. And everyone has that DRS as well. So once these trains form, where all these cars, there are 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6 cars, I think, in this grid, all within that 1 second of one another, that there's really very little room for movement. But speaking of the DRS, Brewer and Bitto are doing a great job to stay with Valor. Valu about 8/10 the gap between himself and Freeware. Vito another 6/10 behind them. But I think Brainstew might have just broken the chain after Ace Richie. So Chenjo now, he's using that overtake and DRS. He's really using that overtake. He's trying to get as much speed as he can. Brainstew defends to the inside, heading towards the braking zone. And here we go. They're side by side. Brainstew has that inside. Can Chenjo get the traction that he needs on the exit on these wearing softs to send it down the inside of turn 13? Oh, they're still going at it, stripping through turn 14 into 15 now. Brainstew having that inside line, he's able to defend, and Chenjo has to hold back for at least another couple of corners.
Yeah, Shenjay's not waiting around too much though here. He really wants to get ahead of Brainstew. He sees that there's a gap forming to the cars ahead. Shenjay wants to clear that gap massively right now. We're only on lap 8. We've got a lot of running to go, but it's these softs right now. These drivers need to be getting the most out of them, and Shenjay right now is not getting that done. He's got Sindako breathing down his neck. He's between the two Italians. He hasn't looked to the inside. Big lockup. Brainstew goes deep. Shenjay, does he have the exit here? And where's Sindako in all of this? He's still just hunting them down in that racing point. And Shenjay now has Brainstew very, very close. I'll be surprised, Mikhail, if we don't see something happen between these two coming out of the hairpin.
Yeah, Chenjo showing that he's got the better speed at the moment. But he's used a lot of that battery in his previous attempts, so he really needs to make this one stick, or it's he's going to be stuck behind this Mercedes for quite a while longer. And he gets a slide out of the rear. Oh no, that's the last thing that he needed. He'll be using that overtake to try and defend instead from Sindaka, but they're both gaining super quickly on Brainstew. This could be a double overtake. It's 3 wide for these guys heading into turn 12. Sindaka in the middle. There's a bit of a tap between the two Italians. Brainstew trying to hold it around the outside. Chenjo is now in the middle. Sindaka will have to hold back. Brainstew up the inside of the turn. Oh! They did together. Brainstew is around into the grass. He's trying to get that car back under control as quickly as he can. He will fall down into 11th place, and those softs are going to really be overheating now. The two Italians, you hate to see it, but they have come together, Striffium.
Sindako.
Now Microlander.
Sindako, I'm afraid to say it, may have initiated this. I do believe he may have tapped Brainstew in the rear. They were locked together. At the very least, from what I saw here, I'm not entirely sure. The stewards are going to have to review that. Very unfortunate, but this has really exposed Sindako now to Microlander. Yoda is in 8th, Astrodite in 9th. Oh, Brainstew is really struggling here. Really struggling. He's got damage now on that front right. He's just taking it off Mikal. Those tires are very hot. Fraser now. King right behind him. They're going to be looking to take this Mercedes for some position as well, and he's got to go around with damage.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Yoda and Astra, the two lead medium runners, as this soft starts to near the end of their life. They're not really catching the soft runners at a rate, at the rate that I would expect. I would have really expected them to really catch up by now, but I think it's just this DRS is really helping them to just stay, around that 2.8, 2.9, even 3 second gap. But Microlander, he's looking for a move on Sindako. He pulls out of it, both of them locking up into turn 12. Yeah. Shenjay, he's trying to pull away, but it's not quite working at the moment. Currently 2.6 seconds is the gap between himself and Ace Richie. But Sindako and Microlander keeping him for great company. Meanwhile, further down the grid, Rackety getting the move done on Nigel heading into turn 12. We'll see if Nigel has an answer on these dying softs, but I don't really know. He goes a little bit off track there. That might have actually been a warning for the Alfa Romeo. But no, you can see Rackety on those mediums. He just has so much more grip coming out of turn 15. And we have 2 more drivers into the pits. That's Sindako and Microlander. So they have been fighting each other this entire race. Now it's down to the pit crews to see if one of them can get the better pit stop, to see if there are any mistakes made for these two. And Microlander going on to the hards.
Very interesting strategy option out of Microlander here. And I think I know why he's done this. I think it could be because should there be a safety car, he's got if there's a safety car right now in this situation, perhaps he can go on to those mediums. Maybe further down the line he can go on to softs.
I mean, it's not even that. The mediums should fairly comfortably make it to the end of this race. Yes, you'll have to do a bit of management, but not nearly as much as you would have needed to on the soft. So I'm not quite sure on that decision, but we'll see if he can make it work in that Red Bull car. The 2 leaders, though, well, 3 leaders, I should say, because Alex Bitter is still right there with them. They're all just sort of managing their tires, just putting in the laps, and they're making their way around. Currently, nearly 4.5 to 5 seconds is the gap between top 3 and Ace Ritchie in 4th. And Chenjay another 3 seconds behind, and Chenjay's really starting to struggle on those softs.
It took 10 laps. 10 laps for the... Really, 9 laps for this grid really to separate here. There goes Freeware. He's looking for an undercut, Mick. He's dived in behind Valu. Where's Bitto? He's staying out with the leader. Ritchie now. He's also staying out. So Freeware trying something here. The majority of these racers, of course, his teammate Shenjay is going to stay out. Yoda's on the mediums now. Him and Astrolite are each going to slip up a spot. And they can go on that long stint. Freeware now onto the mediums. So we'll have to see how that undercut pays off for him.
Yeah, he's going to be behind Zamas. He really needs to clear this traffic, but being led by Rackety. Is he going to come out ahead of them? Yes, he does. Okay, so it is now push time for Alex Bitto and Valu on these very, very old softs, because these mediums on Freeware's AlphaTauri are going to be very, very fast right out of the gate. You see so much grip through the S section in Sector 1. These 2 up front need to be worried. They need to be burning all the battery that they have. Alex Bitto knows what's up. He's down to 2% on his battery. But Valu, I'm not sure if he quite realizes how strong this undercut can be, because those softs are not going to have a lot of grip, and those mediums are going to be setting the fast lap of the race very, very soon.
This is just the intervals right now. They aren't quite within all a second, but they're still quite tight on this grid. You have Nigel there in 10th position. He's still on these softs, of course, as well as the top 4. And I want to see whether or not Nigel pits here, because he has a lot of traffic ahead of him. If he's able to stay with Rackety, that could be good for him. Keep that DRS. A lot of these other drivers, they've fallen out of DRS of one another. Nigel has a little bit of an advantage having that DRS.
Oh, don't look now, Striff. The 2 leaders, they are now into the pits, so all eyes on Freeware. Where is he? He's making his way through the penultimate corner now. A little bit of a missed apex, being stuck behind that Renault of Zamus. And I think that's Chenjay into the pit spot. Surely Nigel will come in as well. No, Nigel will be staying out. But where is this AlphaTauri going to be? He has the DRS, and he has overtaken Valu with ease.
Oh, but he's tapped Zamus into turn 1. There's a big issue in turn 1. Valu's been caught in traffic. Alex Bitto now is going to go around them. That was so touch and go between those drivers. Freeware later on the brakes, he might have been checking to see where Valu was. I'm not entirely sure, but that was him into the rear of the Renault. And that is just so unfortunate. Check on the front end of Zamus. No damage for him, it would appear, on the end plates at the very least. Freeware, however, has definitely taken a significant portion. And that undercut was perfectly planned, Mick. He was going to get them. But maybe... Oh, dear.
Just had so much more grip than Zamus, and the braking zone broke so much later than when they were in front of him. But it's Alex Bitto now on Valu for the net leader this race. He's now up the inside into turn 12. Valu's going to be having a look back at him. Round the outside, here we go, turn 13. But Alex Bitto will have the inside line heading into turn 14. But Valu, he goes for the dive. Goes to the dive at turn 15, Striffy, and they're still wheel to wheel as they make their way down the fast right-hander all the way around. Alex Bitto is still there. They are side by side. Alex Bitto will have the inside for turn 19, and he is through after an amazing battle between the 2 net leaders at the right now. But it is Yoda and Astrolite in the actual lead of this race, yet to pit on those medium tires. And then Alex Bitto and Valu will be 3rd and 4th. Valu going up the inside of Alex Bitto into turn 1. Does Bitto have enough grip to get the switchback? Is he able to get the traction out of those medium compound tires? And no, Valu will cut him off there, taking the inside line for the S section, and Alex Bitto will have to hold station for now.
Yeah, well, it was short-lived. He really needs to catch up with Valu. Valu just setting a personal best Sector 1 here. Of course, none of these drivers right now in the top 3 have penalties. Yoda on a different strategy here. Astrolite as well ahead. Astrolite seems to always find himself on these longer stints ahead of his teammate right now, and he's sticking with Yoda very well. Yoda, a driver who's second in this driver championship, trying something today with this different strategy, not really fighting with the big guns here. Picking those other tires. Now, Swifty's had a bit of a slip. Microlander and Richie have dispatched him. Shenjay's coming through on his outside, and he's just been mugged for 3 positions.
Oh, Ace Richie very late on the brakes, has to lock up to avoid running into the back of Microlander. Shenjay right there with them as well. And a bit further up, Sindako's starting to put a lot of pressure on Rackety. These fresh mediums compared to the worn mediums are providing a lot more grip for that racing point. The Italian, Rackety going off track slightly as well. Rackety going just really struggling through that second to last corner, and he will actually come into the pits as Valu setting the fastest lap of the race so far. Yellow flag in set to 3. Not sure what that one's for. That one's been cleared up very swiftly. Yeah, Rackety into the pits. All these drivers will now make up a spot.
Richie.
At Microlander. And that's Richie up the inside of the Red Bull, but he goes a little bit deep. The switchback, is it on for Microlander on those hards? No. Richie just has so much more grip in those mediums, and it's in situations like those where the hards are really going to struggle against all these medium compound runners. And all these medium runners, aside from the ones who started the race, should be able to make it to the end fairly comfortably. Maybe not S-King, but all those with like 3 or less laps of wear on those mediums should realistically make it to the end of this race fairly comfortably, Striv.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that for sure. Richie right now.
Richie now. He has another one.
Yeah.
Another one that's not Jean in the other Alfa Romeo. Sorry, I was about to say Nigel there, but Ace Richie, easy as you like, just using that DRS, using a bit of that battery as well to make sure. And Shenjay is going to get past Microlander, or is he getting into the first corner very tight between himself and Jean there, as Jean was trying to take the apex. But Shenjay is now through for P9 in this race. Microlander down into P10.
So many exchanges on this circuit happening, especially down out of the long straight, of course. Nigel right now holding with Rutanius, Swifty, and Yama wheel to wheel right now. Mick, a little bit of a tap right now. Fronts to the rears. There goes Swifty through on the inside. Valley, a 133.2, the fastest lap of this campaign so far. 2 seconds now, the gap to his teammate in Astrodite. Astrodite and Yoda right now leading things 1-2 within half a second of one another on those 14-lap old tires. Richie and Zamis now have had an exchange as Richie has made his way ahead now. Zamis is on the same strategy here as Yoda and Astrodite. These 14-lap old mediums carrying him well right now through this race. He'll be 15 at the end of this run. And of course, that's 13 laps to the end of this one now. I think he's going to be stretching these a little bit longer, doing the reverse medium soft. He has no damage on his front end, even after his mishap with Freeware. Well, I should say Freeware's mishap with him.
Yeah, these medium runners, if they want to make it to the softs, so we'll be looking around lap 20, lap 19 or so to really make sure that those softs will have a lot of grip. And those mediums should be able to make it that far. But the question is with how much speed. Valu and Bitter are slowly catching this front two as Shenjay will make the move on Zamis. So he's now up into 7th place on the back
ahead
straight.
of John as well here. Now, one of the things, Astrodate was very tight to Yoda and potentially close to making a move. I wonder if he'll get a P1 position in this race before Valu catches up with him, and then we can have at least an American leading things for about 2 seconds. Because Valu, Mikau, this dude has.
Oh, he's right there.
He's
here. Right there. Yep. DRS overtake. Valu's really been pushing. He's got basically no battery left in the tank, but there he goes. He passes his teammate Astrodite, making sure to leave him all the space in the world. Does not want to get a penalty from that, or even a collision, because that would be devastating. Speaking of penalties, S-King's taken the 10-second one for entering the pit lane and corner cutting. It's not often you see 10-second penalties handed out.
Oh, there's been an issue, and what's this? Who's this? It's been King. He's retired in the pit lane. Why? Why have you done this?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be seeing any issues with that one, unlike Oceanic and EU. But these front four now very, very close to one another. Yoda and Valu about to go wheel to wheel. Valu looking up the inside. Yoda doesn't really put much up put up much of a defense, at least heading into the apex. And yes, that's Valu now through for P1 in this race yet again. And he's going to try and pull away. And Alex Vito unable to get past Aphrodite on that previous straight. So he really needs to make some aggressive moves if he wants to stay with Valu up the inside of turn 15. Hello.
Yeah, on cue.
There's Alex at the P3.
On cue, aggressive
Right on
moves.
cue, yeah. He's got one more to make, but Valu, he's already out of DRS range of Yoda. That Haas just has so much speed at the moment. Of course, Haas at their home race this evening. So want to do well for those guys, and Valu is certainly putting up a great performance thus far. Alex Bitto is unable to close up on Toyota enough to make a lunge into turn 1, and the longer he stays behind this McLaren, the further and further Valu's going to get away. Jean. I keep messing up words on night. Jean and Yama will pass Zamis. Zamis is now into the pit lane, so Fraser will be going past as well, and Zamis puts on a set of softs.
Yeah, he's looking to go to the end. It's early. It's a little early. But Zamis...
They should make it.
Well, Zamis is a driver we've seen throughout the seasons that is very good on his tires, I think. We can definitely say. Alex Bitto very tight to the rear of Yoda, through into the hairpin, almost into the rear of the McLaren. Does he have enough of an exit? Does he have enough in that very low battery?
He'll be fine, surely. DRS using that slipstream for a bit more overspeed up the inside. Easy as you like, and he is well cleared before the brakes. He misses the apex slightly, so Yoda might actually have a go back at him, but I think those fresher mediums are just going to provide more traction. And yeah, Alex Bitto is now through, but at what cost for him? 2 seconds is now the gap between himself and Valu, and plus that penalty he has as well. Things are looking quite nice for the Haas driver at the moment. Let's see. Let's hope that he's able to keep it clean for the remaining 11 laps, I should say.
Crackety's blown by Rutanius now. He's on these hards. He's flying now. That he's got this fresh rubber on that car. A lot of pit stops coming through. Yoda and Astrolite have pit precisely on cue. No undercutting action happening here, so they're going to look to fight throughout this one. Sindako and Richie have been promoted to 3rd and 4th respectively as a result. Microlander and Shenjay as well moving ahead. Where's Yoda and Astrolite going to come out? Yama has moved ahead into 7th. John...
will they get ahead of Fraser? They'll both be ahead of Fraser, so P8 and P9 for those two, and they'll have a fresh set of softs that'll easily make it to the end of this race. So they'll be lightning quick. We'll have to keep an eye on them, see how far that they're able to make it up. Rutanius will pick up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. That's something you don't want to see.
Yeah, a lot of penalties on this grid. Not as many as we've seen in Tier 2 or EU. Not entirely sure how it landed in the Oceanic grid, but I can tell you one thing, that Rutanius...
we go to Richie. Richie, easy pass there on Sindako. Just so much more speed. And Rutanius is under a lot of pressure. I think you were trying to say, Striff. Zamis is right over his gearbox. 2/10 is now the gap between those two, but Rutanius will have that DRS on Rackety, but the fresh softs against the worn mediums, it's a no contest. And Zamis is cleanly through. Is he able to catch up to Rackety as well? He's trying. He's burning that overtake DRS slipstream. He's gaining, but I don't think he's gaining enough, Striff. No, he won't go for that dive, but he's spooked Rackety. Rackety's completely missed that apex. And he's going to try and defend on the inside of turn 13. Zamis with the softs clean around the outside. He'll have the inside now for turn 15, but he goes a little bit deep. Can Rackety do what Zamis did to him only 2 corners ago? He might. Zamis, he goes a little bit wide. He leaves the door open. Rackety cuts the track and picking up a 3-second time penalty, but Zamis will hold that position, and he's now up into 13th place.
Oh, big
Yoda.
Issues. Yeah, big issues for Yoda.
He completely outbroke himself going super deep, but it's not going to amount to anything. Alex Yamamoto, Yama, is unable to capitalize off that mistake. Shenjay getting a penalty, Sindako getting a penalty as well. So these warnings, they're starting to stack up a little bit for these drivers. Alex Bitto slowly falling back from Valu as the laps tick on. Currently, the gap is 2.3 seconds.
Astrolite now looking at Yama on the inside into the hairpin. Does he get this done? Where'd my camera go? Yes, he does. Into 8th position. There goes the Haas. Fresh softs for him as well. He's got to try and keep up with Yoda. second right now. He's out of, well, he's just within that DRS.
Yeah, he got the DRS off Yama heading into that braking zone, so that certainly helped him, but he really needs to keep up with Yoda if he wants to just tag along with him, and as they make their way further and further up this order, I think they'll be able to reach Chenje, but I don't know if they'll really be able to pass him.
Gonna be tough.
Nigel. Or I should say Chenje in this battle for 4th place. He's within half a second of Sindako. He's using that overtake. He's using that DRS. Oh my goodness, Striff. Look at that speed from the AlphaTauri up the inside, heading to turn 1. This uphill braking zone, this wide apex. Chenje will take the apex in the corner, but Sindako just getting a better exit through turn 1 and 2, and he will maintain that position heading through the S's.
He primed. He absolutely prepared for the possibility that Chenje would do that lunge. He went deep. He turned that car around. He hammered down. He had a little bit of a short shift on the exit, and he just had such good traction in comparison. He's pulling a lot out of those mediums right now. They're 2 laps older than Chenje's tires, but they're acting as if they were even fresher than the tires in this AlphaTauri.
Yeah, he's even starting to pull away a little bit, but Chenje, he has the battery, and we've seen the straight line speed out of that AlphaTauri, and a longer straight like this, I don't think it's gonna. Tadako isn't able to really do anything against that one. Chenje cleanly through, and he doesn't miss his braking point this time, so he will maintain that 4th position at least until the start of lap 21.
For all of you who have been tuning into this race, it's round 19, Tier 1 MRL action. Greatly appreciate you all being here. My name is Striffium here from Canada. Of course, we're commentating a race not too far from me, I suppose, down south. And then we have, of course, Mikau from the land down under. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Hit that follow button. We have so much racing action that happens. We have another United States Grand Prix tomorrow. That will be at 8 p.m. for those in the UK and 2 p.m. Central for those in the States or in North America. And then we have the Endurance Series this weekend. We're going to Bahrain for a 100%, well, a 100% campaign, a 100% distance race around Bahrain International, and I am very, very excited for that.
As a maestro for these guys, they still have a few laps left before they can start thinking about their next race. Sindako, he's trying to keep up with Chenji. He's doing all that he can. 6/10 is the gap. As Fraser and Rackety having a bit of an exchange. Fraser's got 20 laps on those mediums. I don't know why he hasn't pit yet, but maybe he knows something that we don't. Rackety's now cleanly through. Microlander, he's also catching up to Yoda. Oh, actually, no, that's Yoda. He's actually made it past Microlander. My mistake there. Sorry about that, Yoda. Very nicely done. He's now up at the P6 with 4.5 seconds to Sindako. And he has the time, he has the laps to maybe catch up. I don't know if it's going to be enough, but with the penalty, he should be in a pretty good spot to maybe even take 4th in this race strip.
Sindako. Oh, these penalties, man, they really make me think about where everyone's going to finish.
Ooh, big lockup from Sindako heading to the final corner. Chenje, he's now out of that DRS range, out of that 1 second that he needs. Yoda setting the pace with that new fastest lap. 1 minute 32.973. Very blistering lap time for the race stance, if I do say so myself. But Sindako, he's doing all that he can to stay in that DRS range, but I don't think it's going to quite be enough, and there it goes. So he is now out of that DRS range, but someone who is well within that DRS range is Jean, in range of Rackety in this battle for 13th place. Striffium, DRS and overtake. We've seen this many times before. Rackety defending to the inside, but Jean goes even further down the inside. Takes, oh my goodness, a very early apex. Rackety doing all he can to stay ahead of this driver on the fresh softs. The hards versus the softs, and it'll be the hards for once that win out on that one. Rackety ahead through the S's, but I don't know if it's going to last for long. Jean, he has so much more grip through Sector 1 than Rackety, but Rackety just putting his car exactly where he needs to be to make sure that Jean stays up behind at least for a couple more corners. But I think now heading down the second DRS zone, it's going to be quite an easy overtake for the Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, not much Rackety's going to be able to do about this DRS. That rear wing now coming wide open. Wide open on that Alfa Romeo. You can just see he's swallowing up. But he's got no battery. He's got no battery. I think Rackety might be able to hold on the inside now with the switchback. The Alpha through on the inside. Rackety with great traction on these hards right now. He's holding well. Now around the outside for Jean. Rackety still ahead. A big lunge down the inside. He is through. He's through. Does he hold it? Rackety pushing, but I think Jean has made this move stick for now.
Great effort there from Rackety. Some superb defending, but in the end, the tire difference was just too much. Speaking of tire difference, Astrolite has now made his way onto Macrolander for P7 in this race. So it's now his turn to do what Yoda did a couple laps ago. Yoda is also catching up very quickly with Sindako. He's now only 1.1 seconds away from those guys. So he should be able to mount an attack in the dying stage of this race as well. Astrolite
now on the exit out of the hairpin. Not as much battery. A lot of these drivers low on that ERS, but he has that DRS, and he's going to swallow up Microlander here. Microlander moves off to the center, trying to squeeze off that Haas. Astrolite now is on the inside. Microlander is going to look to prime and put him into a position for a possible switchback, but the speed and traction on these softs right now is, I think, a little bit too much for this Red Bull.
Fraser has a puncture. He's gone 22 laps on those mediums, and his front left tire has now blown. 22 laps on mediums, that's quite the effort. But yeah, that racing point does have a puncture, so he will be certainly last in this race, unfortunately.
Sindako has a problem named Yoda. The McLaren, half a second at the rear now.
Where's this speed from the McLaren? Oh my goodness, I was just talking about him half a lap ago, saying that he's like now just made it back into DRS range, and half a lap later, he's now past the racing point. 2.3 seconds is the gap to Chen Jie. Chen Jie also has a penalty. So Yoda, realistically,
he's got his eyes on a podium.
Yes, that he does. Zamis making his way past Nigel into turn 1, or has he? They're going side by side through turn 2, but I think Zamis will have the better line and the better grip in those soft compound tires to make it ahead of Nigel for that P11 slot. And there's a yellow flag in sector 3 just a moment ago. I think that was for Swifty, who's really starting to struggle. I think he is damaged or something. Yeah, he's got no front wing.
Now we've
very
seen
unfortunate for that Red Bull.
We've seen it before this week, where coming into these final few laps, drivers not having that many penalties, but that's when, of course, this race really starts to pressurize. You're coming down to the wire. You want those final points. You're starting to push. You're spinning. You're pulling out the most from your tires. Now, with all of that, you're exceeding. You're potentially, making a mistake. You're pushing hard. You're misjudging your braking because the tire wear is there. You're likely to pick up a penalty when you're pushing that hard. And with these drivers in a circuit like COTA, where warnings are going to be many and the penalties are already plenty, I think that this final phase of the race is going to set up a unique situation for a few of these racers that maybe don't have as many warnings.
Yeah, it's certainly in these dying stages where things really start to come to fruition, but Jean has actually had an issue.
Big lunge from Freeware up on Yama. 2 lap fresher tires out of Freeware. We saw him have that issue with Zamis earlier, but he's now into 9th and charging. 6.2 seconds the gap, however, to the drivers ahead of him, and he has 6 seconds in penalties himself.
Oh, Yama just made himself on equal footing with Freeware, picking up another 3 seconds. So both those guys have 6 seconds of penalties. Alex Bitto was on 12, so Yoda could actually have a shot at the podium.
This is the thing. Those medium compound tires and versus these soft compound tires, the big question is what's going to have more pace once they get to that wear point, because these softs, obviously, they degrade quicker than these mediums. We still have a few laps of running. Are those softs going to have enough pace for him to keep up with these mediums? Are they going to have enough to keep him ahead of Sindako, who's no slouch? He's been very quick today. Penalties aside, it's you know, you want to be getting those moves done on circuit as well. Just the same. 1.3 seconds right now. Shenjie. Oh, Yoda really wants to get him.
Yeah, Yoda's pushing. I do believe he still has the fastest lap in this race. That he does with that sub 1 minute 33 time. The only one in this entire race. But yeah, with the amount of penalties that Alex Bitter has, I think Yoda could realistically get third place in this race, which would be an absolutely incredible feat considering his qualifying performance. And that's Valo now getting past Fraser, who is still yet to pit off that punctured front left. So I don't know what he's doing. Maybe he's just, you know, having a nice stroll with a flat tire.
A nice stroll.
See.
See what you did there.
Yeah, no, it was great, wasn't it?
That was good. That was good. Yeah, he's in driver. He's got the yellow T-cam, to be fair.
Yeah, that's Stroll. That's Stroll's car. I'm going to act like I completely planned that. Microlander.
I helped you through it.
Yeah, Microlander, he's making his way on the back of Aphrodite at the moment. Those softs are starting to give in a little bit. So, might not be the best news for Yoda, what he wants to hear. But Microlander, those hards, they are durable. Might not be the fastest tires out there, but they certainly can last a whole lot longer than most of these other compounded tires. Swifty will actually steal the fastest lap now on those fresh softs. 1 minute 32.053 down in 17th place, and Fraser finally pits. And I think he'll be trying to snatch that fastest lap a lap down.
Yeah, it'd be nice for these guys to take it out of the top 10 equation. Neutralize that point.
Yeah, well, if they can't have it, no one can. So, yeah, we're on the penultimate lap of this race. Valu driving exceptionally well with a 4.3 second gap back to Alex Bitto. Ace Ritchie a further 7.5 seconds behind the Ferrari. Chenjie a little bit closer, 1.7. Yoda 1.2 behind him. Chenjie and Bitto both have penalties. I believe Chenjie is sitting on 3 seconds and Bitto is on 12, yes. Sadako also has 3 behind them in 6th place. Valu looking in a very, very strong position at the moment. Let's see if he's able to keep it together, keep it clean on this final lap, and not throw away his 3rd race win and his 2nd in a row, I do believe.
Couple of battles. Microlander on Aphrodite. He was tight to the rear of him, coming down that long straight. Yoda sticking with Shenjie. He's within that 2nd, and this is now the final lap of this race. Valu, Bitto, Ritchie, your top 3. The penalty situation displayed on screen. Alex Bitto, 12 seconds in penalties. Ritchie, none. Shenjie with 3. Sindako with 6. And those are all the penalties in the top 8. You see things start to get quite congested in penalties further down the grid.
Yeah, Yoda, with those softs, has managed to get it into that DRS range of Chenjie in this battle for 4th, on track at least. He will overtake Chenjie on the penalties, and I do believe he'll be able to get Bitto as well, but he just wants to make sure that he's doing the fastest race that he can. Aphrodite and Microland have also caught up to the back of Sindako in this battle for P6, so this could be a last lap lunge. Aphrodite trying to do all he can with those 1 softs. Sindako on 17 lap old mediums. They are both out of battery strip. This is the final lap of the race. Can this Haas make up another slot to go with his teammates win? He's up the inside into turn 12 strip, and he'll have that inside. He cuts off Sindako. Very nicely done from that Haas driver. But Microlander now, he's looking on the 17 lap old hards. It's at this stage of the race where the hards come in.
Yeah,
Valu coming across the line
are also exchanging
to win this one.
Em and Zamis are wheel to wheel right now. Zamis is on these softs. It's Valu, Bitto. Ritchie jumps Bitto. Yoda jumps Shenjie and Alex Bitto into 3rd position. Very neatly done. How are things going to unfold for Astrolite, Sindako, and Microlander? Astrolite 6, Micro 7th, Sindako 8th. It's Freeware in 9th. There goes Yama to the line. Who's got less penalties? It would seem that Zamis had an additional 3 seconds, and Nigel has jumped Freeware to push Freeware into 10th position.
Wow.
Yep.
That is quite the shake-up. Nigel there keeping it clean and just staying behind the action. Was able to net him a couple of points, so well done to him. Rackety will come across the line in 14th. Brainstew will do a donut across the line for 15th. Jean will come across 16th. Swifty a lap down, and Fraser also a lap down, making his way on the wet tires. So didn't use a dry compound at all this race, which is not something you see every day.
Yeah, that's a... Wow, I am trying to digest, Mick. I'm trying to digest that race. It was thrilling. Absolutely thrilling start to finish. We didn't even see a safety car. It was just sheer speed, strategy, you know, and love to see those things. Yoda with a great race, Valu with the race win. He started it in pole. Richie from 6th to 2nd. Yoda, he made up 11 positions. Major races out of these guys. And it's a Haas with the win here for the United States Grand Prix Round 19 MRL Tier 1 action. Valu taking that win. Yoda getting the driver of the day.
Well deserved from Yoda. That was quite the drive. But it's Valu who makes it 3 race wins here in MRL Tier 1. One of the newer guys on this grid, and he's showing that he has got some serious pace. And I think crucially for the championship as well, Yoda with that 3rd place ahead of Chenjay. So that gap, even if it's just by a little bit, has shrunk just a tiny bit. So he's slowly but surely, he's only got a few races left. Of course, we only have 3 races left in this championship, but it's still all to play for, I believe.
Yep, definitely a lot to play for. Definitely a lot to play for. 19 drivers began this race. Unfortunately, King was unable to complete it. He was the only one out of this grid, but it was Valu to take the win. Richie in 2nd, and Yoda rounding out your podium in 3rd. Alex Bido in 4th, Shenjay 5th, Astro in 6th, Microlander in 7th, Sindako 8th, Nigel in 9th with Freeware rounding out the top 10 for the points here in this one. Yama 11th, Zamis 12th. He started the race in 12th as well. Britannius in 13th from 11th. Rackety, he moved up 4 positions. Neatly done from the McLaren boys today all around. Brainstew, he dropped back a few. He had a couple of issues through this race. John there in 16th. Swifty 17th with Fraser in 18th. King again rounding out the grid. Not too many stops out of the grid. Swifty had 3. Fraser, King, Britannius.
I think that's also the least amount of penalties that we've had in a race so far this week.
Around Coda, I would have to say yes. That is the least amount of penalties we've had picked up around the Circuit of the Americas this week for sure. For sure.
Well done to all these drivers for finishing the race. And congratulations to Valo again on a superb drive. Absolutely blistering pace throughout this entire event. And if he sticks around, it should be a very, very nice title fight next season.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Things for Season 4, for those that are just tuning in or wondering about what's happening after Season 3, we are going to have a lot of information coming to you within the next few weeks about Season 4, and all I can say for certain right now is it is going to be something else and something completely different, so you won't want to miss it. Of course, this is going to wrap up racing action for us. Catch us tomorrow for the Club Division, 8 p.m. GMT for those over in the UK and in Europe. That is at 8 p.m. and then we have that race at 2 p.m. CST for those here in North America, where I am situated in Canada. Now, with all that being said, we hope you hit that follow button for the racing action. We have the Endurance Series on Saturday, just a ton of fun stuff coming to you to finish out the week. We're going to Bahrain on Saturday. Next week, we hit up Mexico for another 5 fantastic league races, but we're not done with the US yet. We hit it once again with the club division, so we'll see you then.